When we previewed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth back in September, we couldn't help but notice how familiar it all felt. The more that time passed, we began to worry if we were just a bit over-familiar. To say Rebirth is just more of the same would be a gross injustice, but remakes are remakes, so where does one go after leaving Midgar, Buster Sword, companions, and a fantastic combat system in tow? Thankfully, we needn't have worried. After playing a much more sizable chunk at a recent preview event, we are more than confident that this second slice of Cloud's adventure is not only going to live up to the first game, but improve on its admittedly laughably few shortcomings, all while offering another unmissable adventure. Let's get into it. This time around, we were able to spend a little more time in Nibelheim with Cloud, returning home as a soldier, accompanying Sephiroth on a trip to the Mako reactor nearby, and led by local tour guide and cowboy hat enthusiast, Tifa. Nibelheim is a pivotal section of the original Final Fantasy VII, and while many no doubt remember seeing Sephiroth in the flames, or seeing him uncover the truth behind his birth in Shinra Manor, I love the feeling of having the blinkers removed. This is a town abuzz with excitement for its returning hero and his legendary cohort, cheering him on in the streets. Cloud's mother Claudia fusses over him, and the mayor begs Sephiroth to join him for a meal after the mission. A fun touch is that Cloud can adjust how the flashback plays out somewhat through dialogue choices, like telling Tifa he went to find her, or explaining how he spent some time playing the piano. Knowing what's to come, the whole section had us wanting to avoid climbing the mountain, knowing what could be next. But of course, climb the mountain Cloud must, and despite the changes made to the story in Remake, Nibelheim remains just as much of a flashpoint as it ever has been. That same powder keg takes a while to burn here as Sephiroth sequesters himself to the bowels of Shinra Manor, unearthing the secrets of the Genova project. Still, when it burns, and seeing Nibelheim laid to waste after having seen so much peace and excitement there just an hour or so before feels devastating on a whole new level. The scary thing is, depending on how the main story of Rebirth plays out, that could be the last of our worries come launch. Emerging from the flashback, Cloud and his team are in Calm, only the village is a lot larger than it was back in 1997. It's here that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth begins to unfurl its deeper RPG systems. One criticism that was levelled at Remake was a lack of depth, but it's clear that this is something Square Enix took personally and is looking to improve on this time round. The weapon upgrade system returns with equipable skills that can now also be automatically upgraded for those not that keen on diving into menus, and there's a new folio system too. Initially looking like just another skill tree, the folio system is focused on the synergy skill system, whereby party members work together in battle. Some are specific to a certain party member, while others are restricted by type. You can unlock additional skills by increasing the party level or finding manuscripts, and players can respec any time, so you're actively encouraged to experiment. For anyone who wanted a little more depth out of Remake, this should scratch that itch and then some, particularly when tied in with the ever-flexible materia system that lets you switch your skills regularly, while hopefully remaining accessible to those who get overwhelmed by the menus and the numbers and just want to get to the fighting. One of Rebirth's biggest changes is in its open worlds, and while we got to experience hunting some bigger monsters in our last preview session, we were able to roam much more freely this time around, up to an area where we needed a chocobo to cross a lake. Upon leaving Calm via a secret exit once Shinra arrived on the scene, Cloud and Co are free to head off in any direction. Within minutes, we found a chocobo farm and were able to take on some quests that would earn us our very own feathered friend. We also bumped into Chadley again, the materia developing cyborg wonder kid from Remake. And while he's always down to help collect combat data, this time around he wants Cloud to access Remna Wave towers throughout the open world. It's not quite the same as climbing them, a la Assassin's Creed, but it'll help identify natural resources and more powerful fiend encounters, dubbed World Intel. It's essentially busy work, but we have to unlock more stuff on the map somehow I suppose, so here's hoping it proves useful as the world opens up further. That said, chocobo gained, we attempted to cross the aforementioned lake only to end up tackling the huge snake boss, Midgarsummer. You know, that serpent that was once just a few pixels underneath the world map. Scary how quickly times have changed. While we do consider ourselves a pretty dab hand at Remake's combat, Midgarsummer makes Hell House from the last game feel like a pushover. It dives beneath the lake for cover, coils itself around trees, and unleashes AoE attacks with alarming regularity. I am sorry to say it handed our party more than a few game over screens, but on the plus side, loading back up is much faster than it ever was in the remake when we played on PS4, essentially negating one of the last criticisms we had of the last game. Now obviously it wouldn't be a Final Fantasy game without some surprising side content, and we were pretty impressed by the new card game Queen's Blood. Players rack up points by placing cards in horizontal lanes according to a lane total. More cards means more places to add additional cards. Almost like forming a pattern as you work your way through, ramping up to allow more powerful cards as you do. It's a little Marvel Snap, it's a little Inscription, and we're excited to play more of it, even if just for the satisfying sound of the points clinking onto the scale on the side of the board, Inscription style. With the Golden Saucer making an appearance, we're hopeful of even more minigames, but for now, Queen's Blood is a great start. We can definitely see it reaching Gwent levels of popularity if it's played right. Final Fantasy VII Remake was always going to be a tough act to follow, but by opening up the world, adding additional RPG depth, and reuniting us with some of the characters that we've loved since 1997, launch at the end of the month literally cannot come quickly enough. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you're excited for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth down in the comments. And while we've got you here at GG Recon, if you're into your RPGs, why not check out these videos where we talk about Baldur's Gate 3.